Okay, thank you. I just gonna introduce ourselves.
Okay.
Uh, Thank you very much for this opportunity. We are working in conservation uh, from specific projects like the rescue centers and the rescue units in Paraguay. Here is a very big challenge, and mainly because nobody knows where is Paraguay, and we're trying to put in the map this country and about conservation goals. So Marta is helping us from Spain. Uh, she's a biologist. Um, I am a biologist too. The team is we have veterinarian biologists, engineers, environmental engineers from different professions, and we are trying to achieve this goal. So this is a very exciting opportunity to talk about it.
Good.
So
Marta,
I'm
we don't
ready.
see the presentation yet. Can you
Yes.
share the screen?
Share. I can't see the share option. I don't have this option.
sequence question and ask, chat and share screen.
Okay. Okay. I have. Okay. Is sharing? Yes.
Perfect.
Perfect. Okay. Then we are going to start. Well, hello to all, and thank you for this opportunity. We are Christian and Marta from Fauna Vida, and little NGO from Paraguay. We want to present our little experience in wildlife rescue from conservationist view. Instead of the traditional view of zoos and the other centers that have routinely handled wildlife rescue in our country. But first, I want to say our main objective is to preserve the biodiversity. Let's remember that the biodiversity is the quantity, variety, and variability of living organisms. It includes diversity within species, between species, and between ecosystems. And there is more than 30 million of species in the planet, and we only have identified 2.5 million of them. In addition, this species extinction rate is 10,000 times higher than the natural one. This is very awful. Nowadays, we have already lost 2/3 of biodiversity in the planet. In the South American tropical forest, it's worse. The 94% of the biodiversity is lost. This means Latin America is rapidly losing its biodiversity. We want to reverse the curve that leads to total disaster. And what are these causes of biodiversity loss? Well, we have identified four main causes. The habitat loss, which includes deforestation and fires for agricultural uses, destruction for anthropic uses as infrastructures, urbanization, mining, etc. The second one is illegal wildlife traffic, including mascotism, traditional Chinese medicine, trophies, yearly, and more. Another one is direct anthropic damages caused by traps, shoots, and others. And indirect damages like infrastructure interaction with roads, windows, fence or lights, and more. We are totally convinced that we need to do something, and we need to do it now. Nobody is coming to save us. We are our only hope. And now Chris is going to speak.
Okay, I'll talk about a little bit about the biodiversity in Paraguay. There are 35 biodiversity hotspots defined by Conservation International, and Paraguay is in the center of one of them, the Atlantic Forest. A hotspot is a region with great species richness and great threat. It has more than 0.5%, that means 1,500 of the endemic world's vascular plant species. It have already lost at least 70% of its surface. Their conservation is crucial to protecting nature for the benefit of all life on the planet. Okay, in Paraguay, we have more than 1,600 species of vertebrates and more than 100,000 of invertebrates, of which 385 are endangered and 3 are extinct. We have only 9 wildlife reception centers, but not everyone does rescues and rehab tasks. There is an official zoos and the hydroelectric companies, one of the biggest of the world. There are also foundations, NGOs, and young associations. The two binational entities, the hydroelectrics, uh, Itaipu and Yacyretá, are the management entities of the largest hydroelectric dams, which carry out wildlife rescue work to offset the great impacts of their infrastructure. And we can see some data from general rescue in Paraguay divided by taxa. Most of the turtles and monkeys were voluntary donations since they were pets. Anacondas and constricting snakes were taken rescued from their habitat, although they did not need help. Well, as we can see, in this data about rescues per year, we have no data from the principal zoo from the last 3 years. The principal zoo is the Zoo of Asunción. But following the trend, they may be rescuing more than 400 animals per year, and without counting those who remain unrescued. Okay, about us, Fauna Vida was founded in 2015 by a group of biologists and veterinarians to respond to the usual calls as just like, what can I do with this little possum? Or I found a chicken, can I breed it? Etc. Well, and rescues carried out since 2015, 6 years of activity. Many of the mammals and turtles are pets that are voluntarily donated by their own owners, such as monkeys. Others are urban fauna that is not really in trouble, but has been found by people and taken to their home, just like turtles, anacondas, and possums. Some really need veterinary help as they have been injured, run over, or sick. In addition to rescue and veterinary care, we use the investment as a vehicle to do environmental education and reach out all substrates of society. Well, and in these years, we have cared for more than 30 species of fauna, including a tarantula, which is for us, is very interesting because it says to us that people are really concerned about every single form of life. Some anacondas, as we can see, and many opossums. Since the founding of Fauna Vida, the number of cases attended has been increasing until 2020. With the pandemic and confinement calls have not decreased, but we have been forced to stop responding to requests since mobility is restricted. Well, bird attended cases are shown in blue here and unattended in purple. The cases of Pardiralis are special. These species of spotted rail make local migrations and are sometimes disoriented by deforestation and loss of habitat. Most of the cases have been not attended due to lack of transportation, lack of adequate material, or lack of personnel, which is very, very sad.
Yeah.
Well, in this case, we want to tell about a particular situation. In early September of this year, a couple of Coragips atratus, the American black vulture, laid 2 eggs on a terrace of a dental clinic. After consulting with the environmental authority, it was decided to remove the spawn and breed in captivity for its later release. Since it is a species classified as least concern, and there was a risk to human health due to the place and the scavenger feeding of this species. The eggs are currently incubating and are expected to hatch soon. In fact, they started today.
Yeah.
That's when things are going to get complicated because we have to get the necessary materials to avoid the imprinting as well as food and train volunteers to carry out the task. We plan to conduct a hacking release and are an area close to the city that has adequate habitat. In addition, some type of GPS transmitter or wing tag will be necessary to be able to verify that the release is successful and to track these animals. Here we can see a vast majority of the mammals we serve are possums. These animals are part of the urban fauna and can nest on rooftops and patios, so there are many interactions with them. Most of the cases not attended to in orange here were really cases of lack of environmental education, since the animals were not in danger and the only thing necessary was to live with them in harmony. In these cases, an environmental education intervention was necessary. Well, we would like to talk about this particular case again, a family from Limpio, a city near to Asunción, sorry. Call us as they have found this eunectes, yellow anaconda, on the rear bank, and it wasn't injured. It looked like someone had hit her on the head, and she had a skull fracture. We thank the family for their action and did some environmental education, since several relatives have come to witness the rescue and they were all around. So for us, it's a strategy to do that. We transferred her to the veterinary clinic where she was stabilized, but the end of the story is sad, since she died 2 days later. In short, we have only managed to answer a third of the total calls we have received. The main causes have been lack of personnel, lack of financial means, or lack of transportation. Marta?
Yeah. Well, despite being students, few, without financial means and hardly any material means, we have great ideas and a plan to achieve it. We need to be able to stop the loss of biodiversity that we are witnessing in our immediate environment. We cannot stand still. And this is our plan. This is the structure of our projects and programs, which consists in 2 axes, conservation and rescue on the one hand, and environmental education and training on the other. We are going to try to summarize some of the most important topics that we are carrying out today. The Scientific Banding School is a project that has a double objective. In one hand, the conservation of birds, and on the other, environmental education that facilitates bird banding, since it is a novel element that usually attracts people. we have in Paraguay 720 bird species, and 112 of them are endangered. That makes necessary this research. And now we are carrying out the permit and processes with the authority and drafting the necessary documentation to carry out the project. We are looking for synergies with the ring vendors of Spain, Argentina, and everything who wants to join us. We intend to create a stable vendor school that in turn will be the management office of banding in the country to improve knowledge about bird conservation and also have a new environmental education tool. URFAS, the acronym of Wildlife Rescue Unit in Spanish, is the primary care unit for emergencies with wildlife, like an ambulance service. It transports a multidisciplinary team that will attend to the specimen on the spot and later transfer it to the best available destination for treatment or release as appropriate. CERFAS is the Wildlife Rescue Center network. It's a long-term project, but one that is increasingly urgent since zoos and wildlife centers are overflowing. Deforestation, fires, and intensive agriculture are pressing the fauna, and every single day, people send inquiries, and we can't attend all of them. It will be a rehabilitation and rescue center in a semi-wild area with all the facilities for the total recovery of the species and subsequent release where possible. And our idea is that it will be a reference center for volunteer and technician formation, institutional relationship strengthening, environmental education for all society, knowledge and research development, wildlife population restitution and maintenance, and drive green areas and ecological corridor projects. And we aspire to be international. That is why our training is. Experts from various countries, students for all corners with a single objective, of conservation of our biodiversity. The three axes of our training and environmental education plan are currently being developed. Some have just started and others are practically implemented. As we can see here, the environmental education and training program, our team is ready and acting now. The online workshops and talks have been running since September with great success. We have prepared the certification program to start in early 2021. In addition, the environmental education program in schools and other groups is being developed in partnership with other association called CON. CERFAS, the main network project for rescue and first aid centers, is under development. The necessary agreements for the cession of land are being signed by various institutions, public and private, and we are seeking financing for the rehabilitation and equipping of the buildings. The team of veterinarians and biologists is currently being trained to have the most up-to-date knowledge when we can start operating the centers. URFAS, the rescue unit, is already approved by the Environment Authority. However, the necessary infrastructure are not yet ready. We are looking for a donation for an appropriate van or car, as well as the required veterinary and transport supply. Nevertheless, the rescue team is ready, and the rescues that we are doing so far are facilitated thanks to private vehicles and agreements with veterinary clinics that serve us. Everything we have achieved, we could not do without the collaboration with other institutions, including the MADES, is the Ministry of Environment, UNASUR, a local university that joined us to the training program, the municipality of Kawasu, where our surface center will be located, and the NGO POM is a club of nature observers that is helping us to carry out the environmental education. We also have the support of the observation.org citizen science program. Chris? El micro.
Okay. We are developing this project with the help of some organizations, but we have still some needs. Funds, as some of them are funds on donations, buildings, bed and fungible material, car and fuel to travel to rescue points, many times so far. Research and field material, GPS and satellite marks, truck cameras, etc. Sign more agreements with other parts, imply the rescue and rehabilitation process, municipalities, vet clinics, other NGOs, national and international, wildlife reception centers, and private zoos too. Memberships to support our work.
This was a summary of our little project. We are delighted to have been able to share it with you, and we invite you to participate in it. We are with open arms, and we will appreciate any participation or advice, since the conservation does not understand borders. Thank you very much, and wilderness vibes.
Thank you, Marta. Thank you, Christian, for the great presentation, also showing where you can still be supported, and also for all the work that you're doing. Question from our side. We still have a couple of minutes. Do you have, when the corona restrictions will be lifted, do you have plans to host international students, for example, that want to volunteer with your research center?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's a goal for us, to create like an international networking of volunteers. So yes, the answer is yes. After all the restrictions, it's over and it's prudent to do that. We expect to receive people from everywhere in these centers.
Okay, great. There has been in the meantime also a question from Alan. Alan is saying, well, he's saying muchas gracias in my best Spanish. Then he's saying, what were the impacts of the fires in the Chaco and
Chaco.
Panatal region this year? Pantanal. Sorry. Yes.
It's okay.
Yes.
Marta, you want to
They
talk
have
about
been devastating. In Chaco, in Pantanal, in Atlantic Forest, is all is very sad because we have lost much more surface than the last year. Last year was famous, was in social media, but this year anything. And this year was very, very, very bad. Is worse than the last year.
Marta, may I jump in there? We
Yes.
have daily more than 1,000 visitors on our website from 180 countries.
Wow.
Oh.
We are looking for well-researched, well-documented inside stories like this, stories that other people do not tell. Now, we are European, but in all of this, it's a global issue. It's not like we can separate Europe from South America.
Exactly.
Would you support us in maybe providing some text, some links to these things, some maybe even a written piece, short and precise, because people in the age of Twitter do not want to read 60 pages.
Yeah.
But even maybe multiple parts, part 1, part 2, part 3, you know, leading up to it, the short-term damage, the long-term damage, the solution, so that we can make a story out of it. But we also need obviously some photos, because
Yeah.
that would be really lovely.
Thank you
Good.
very much.
Thank you so much for the
For us,
opportunity.
it's gonna be very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
So many other
Okay, thank you very much for this very interesting presentation. I'm sure some people learned a lot about Paraguay and will now appreciate it a bit more.